Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. My name's Hassan Chowdhury. Welcome to Bangladesh in Crisis. In our series, looking in depth in the situation in Bangladesh, we're talking about the International Crimes Tribunal. The tribunal was set up to try suspected war criminals from Bangladesh's liberation struggle. Joining me in the studio, I have an expert panel of guests. First with us, Toby Cadman. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you're an international war crimes lawyer?
That's correct.
You were involved in the Bosnian proceedings, and you're looking after the defense proceedings for Jamaat-e-Islami leaders and SQ Chowdhury from the BNP?
That's correct.
Excellent. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
We have Asad Uzzaman Fuad. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
And you're a barrister and you're representing Justice Concern?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. So great to have you both with us. In a later series of strikes to hit the nation, we saw another start today. With more on this and the latest news, here's Yasmin Khatun.
An alliance of opposition parties have today begun a 36-hour general strike. The strike is in protest to the continued detention of several senior opposition officials. This comes a week after the arrest of Amar Desh newspaper editor Mahmudur Rahman. The editor had been on a hunger strike and there are allegations of torture and abuse.
Of course.
In London, many of his supporters came out to protest his detention.
We, the online activists and the bloggers, gathered here in solidarity with Mahmudur Rahman's hunger strike in Bangladesh. We would say that he is the icon of bravery in Bangladesh. He is the icon of freedom of speech in Bangladesh. We want the immediate release of this brave man. He exposed the corruption of Bangladeshi Awami government regime. He exposed the injustice and unfairness of International Crimes Tribunal. He is the only person who stands against the oppression of Awami regime. So we want this person to be released, and we will fight unless and until he is released. We'll fight to save Bangladesh, and inshallah very soon the world will see a new Bangladesh spring.
At the demo in East London, at least 300 people turned out to show their solidarity with the editor, including leading figures from the 18-party alliance.
We are here to show the solidarity to the demand of the release of Mahmudur Rahman, the very popular newspaper in Bangladesh, the very vocal newspaper in Bangladesh for the press freedom, for the rights of people, and for the democracy, and for the human rights, and for the real rule of law in Bangladesh.
Officers were forced to cordon off the area as tensions between Shahbag supporters and the alliance peaked. In other news, the Supreme Court Appeal Division has set a date to hear the appeal of leading Jamaat-e-Islami figure Delwar Hossain Sayyidi. Sayyidi was sentenced to death in February. His appeal will be heard on May 2nd. Yasmin Khatun, reporting for Islam Channel, Bangladesh in Crisis.
And welcome back. So having seen that news report, I'll go to you first, Fuad. We were hearing about Mahmudur Rahman. We know that he's been taken in, allegations of abuse. What's going on over there?
Thank you. Just to remind you viewers that why Mahmudur Rahman has been a person that had been antagonized by the government. Back in 2010, being an editor of one of the most popular centre-right position paper, he exposed the corruption of the Prime Minister's son, Mr. Joy, who used to live in the States. He took $3.5 million bribes from an international oil company to give a $1 billion worth of oil exploration contract to that company. And the letters and the contract signing at the back door between Mr. Joy, the Prime Minister's son, and the Energy Minister of the country has been exposed by Amar Desh and the editor. That's the first time back in June 2010 that Mr. Mahmudur Rahman has been arrested under a very false pretext, saying that he has not been complying with the press laws and regulations, and under all kind of false allegations.
So Fuad, they've shut down his newspaper, arrested him.
For a few days, yes, that time, and he was arrested, he was tortured brutally by the law enforcement agencies while in custody. and he has been imprisoned for 10 or 11 months.
And you're saying this is because he's exposed the corruption?
That's the reason, because he was an acting editor beforehand. He has been running the newspapers for much longer than the time he has been imprisoned. There is no other reason for him to be arrested.
So a question on the other side is that isn't Ahmadiyya aligned to other parties, and Awami supporters often argue that this was politically motivated from Ahmadiyyah's side?
But does it matter if something, the law that controls the newspaper to publish is the false things, not to mislead the readers. But so long something is factually true, so long something has a public interest matter, any press regulations in the world would allow that news item to be published.
Thank you so much. Toby, in the report, Delwar Hussain Saidi's case was mentioned, and it's going to the appeals court in the beginning of May. Tell us more about what's going on with Delwar Hussain Saidi. What are the charges against him, and what's the situation currently as his representative?
Well, as some of your listeners may be aware, he was convicted on 8 counts out of 20 that involve crimes against humanity allegedly committed in 1971. He is alleged to have effectively acted as a collaborator with the Pakistani military. We've raised significant concerns over the trial itself, and not wishing to go into any great detail on the allegations themselves because they are now subject to appeal. We have raised the position that the trial process is fundamentally flawed. There are allegations of judicial and prosecutorial corruption, or rather prosecutorial and judicial misconduct and government interference with this process. And so we are very, very concerned over the trial. Now we have submitted a detailed appeal. We are hopeful for that appeal. We are disappointed the fact that 2 justices who are sitting on the appeal,
yes,
that we had filed recusal applications, and very justified recusal applications for 2 particular judges, and the Supreme Court has taken the position that these judges need to decide for themselves whether it's in their conscience, whether they can sit on these appeals. Unfortunately, that's precisely what happened during the trial, when the chairman of the tribunal, we had filed a recusal application, and the same decision was taken. Clearly, his conscience was not such that he felt he should resign.
And are you finding it easy to run an appeal without being able to get into the country? Because that's what's happened, isn't it? You've been...
Yeah, that's right. No, it's obviously very, very difficult, I think.
Why did that happen, though?
Well,
Why are you not in the country? Why were you pushed out?
Just to give a bit of background, I first went to Bangladesh in October 2010 at the invitation of the Supreme Court Bar Association to speak about the tribunal. I was not representing any individuals at that stage, but I was invited by members of the Defence Bar, clearly members of the opposition, BNP and Jamaat. But the position was, as I was a member of the International Bar Association War Crimes Committee, and through my experience of having run a prosecutor's office in Bosnia for several years, they'd asked me to speak about the tribunal, the procedures, the laws. And so I spoke about that and criticised the process because I don't consider that it meets any standards of justice. Now, moving on to why I can't actually get into Bangladesh, I visited Bangladesh on 5 separate occasions. On the 6th occasion, which was on the 5th of August 2011, I was invited to speak at another seminar, and I will be perfectly open and say I was going to speak and criticise the tribunal and the government, and I was going to speak on a platform with defence lawyers and members of the opposition. That's clear. Okay. I was also going to meet members of the diplomatic community, and I was stopped at the border as soon as they realised who I was.
Yes.
I was presented with an order that was issued by the Home Minister barring me entrance into the country and forbidding any immigration authority from issuing me with a visa. Now, I was then held at the airport for 10 hours and then thrown out.
Thrown out. Well, what you've told us about the ICT, we're going to go now to a report. In 2010, Bangladesh set up a war crimes tribunal, which is largely seen as Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister, fulfilling an election promise. Many accuse the court now of being a political tool aimed at wiping out political opponents. Yasmin Khatun reports on a judicial process that's divided the country along political and religious lines.
In December 2008, the Awami League won the general election, taking over a swarming 262 seats in parliament. Included in their election promise, a tribunal set up to hold to account the supposed perpetrators of international crimes during Bangladesh's independence struggle in 1971. The accused, made up of opposition party members, largely that of the biggest Islamic party in Bangladesh, Jamaat-e-Islami. The court was set up in 2010 and senior Jamaat figures were immediately arrested. Those arrested include Azharul Islam, Matiur Rahman Azami, the Assistant Secretary General Abdul Qadir Mullah, Vice President Delwar Hussain Sayyidi, and former Amir Ghulam Azam, all accused of partaking in crimes against humanity. Jamaat say that more than 6,000 of their party members have been arrested. In major revelations last year, the Amar Desh newspaper published a transcript of a Skype conversation, which had also been published by The Economist in London. In over 230 emails and 17 hours of recorded telephone conversation, both Judge Haq and Barrister Ziauddin discussed court proceedings. I spoke to Amar Desh special correspondent Oliullah Noman in London.
When I received Skype conversation between Judge and his friend who is living in outside of the Bangladesh, he's Belgium-based a lawyer. Judge was Mr. Nizamulok Nasim, Justice, who is chairman our war crime tribunal. Between Nizamulok Nasim and his friend Ahmed Ziauddin, they talk about our war crime tribunal trial. They talk about how make a judgment, what will be the judgment, what will the punishment, everything they talk between them.
Oliullah Noman, the special correspondent behind the Skype conversation, had to flee Bangladesh and is now residing in Britain, whilst his editor, Mr. Mahmudur Rahman, is currently being held in remand in Dhaka.
After published the letter, we received many other more threat from outside our telephone, our physical. They called me to kill us. So that my editor did not come out from his office. He was staying in office. I am also staying in office. But after 17 December, we received serious information. Government want to pick up me and they want to enforce this about me. So I escaped from the country.
The revelations of interference in Bangladesh's International Crimes Court shook the stable, but the tribunal continues and there has been no systematic change. The Shahbag continue their calls for the death penalty, and the court seems to be treading that exact path. Yasmin Khatoon, reporting for Islam Channel, Bangladesh in Crisis.
And